Welcome back. Indonesia's positive economic performance and growth is predicted to continue in 2022, as this will potentially mean that investments such as gold, mutual funds, and stocks will have plenty of potential next year. In 2022, gold is projected to be a stable investment in both the middle and long term, while investments in stocks also has great potential as the Indonesian economy is recovering well, as this will also help boost the Indonesian stock market. The Indonesian Composite Index, or the IDX, is even projected to be able to grow by 10 to 12% next year, as the IDX could move to a record level of 7,400 in 2022. Now, the IDX can reach such heights, assuming that Indonesia's economic growth can reach 5% in 2022. Indeed, the Indonesian economy has been on a steady path towards recovery. Despite the Delta variant outbreak, Indonesia's economy grew by 3.51% in the third quarter, while in November 2021, Indonesia's total state revenues increased by 19.7% compared to the same period last year. Public consumption in the country has also seen improvements following the easing of public activity restrictions.
22.
Well, of course, investing in a quote-unquote correct manner will bring profits, as investment methods vary depending on the type of investment you have. In Indonesia's financial industry, there are many types of investments, as each type bears different benefits and risks. But which are best in 2022 next year? To talk more about this, to talk more about financial planning and potential investments in 2022, we will talk with Muhammad Karisma, financial planner, who is also the co-founder of Sipundi.id. Hi, Karisma. Thank you so much for joining us on Jakarta Movers and Shakers. All right.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get started about investments next year. But before we talk about that, we want to talk about financial planning. Of course, this is very important amid the pandemic. So in your opinion, tell us, what kind of financial plan instruments do we need to manage our income, especially during these pandemic times?
Before we talk further about the instruments, let me start with the financial plan concept. That before we talk about the instrument, we should have what we call as financial goals or objectives. It divides by three goals in terms of the period. We start with the short-term goals, then we can talk about the medium goals, then the last one we talk about the long-term goals. If we have decided, if we have known our goals from the scratch, we know from the beginning our goals, then we can decide what kind of instruments of investment that we can use. So this kind of investment instrument is like a vehicle to reach our goals. Before we talk about that, so we should know first about our goals, then we can talk about the instruments. And it can be a very variety of products. It can be very different with one and another, because we have to know first about our risk profile as well, to analyze kind of instrument that can suit with our risk profile, and then we can start then with the investment product that can support our goals.
Okay, but during this pandemic, just very quickly, is it best to set short-term goals, mid-term goals, or long-term goals, especially during this pandemic?
I can say that everyone has their own goals, and I can guarantee that we can all decide and determine our goals from the short one until the long one. Most of the mistakes, most of the things that we cannot understand, because we until now we cannot determine our goals from the short until the long one. Emphasize our goals, for instance, for the long term. We always said about the potential of us to face our retirement period. So every one of us will face our retirement period, maybe within 10 or 20 years, or even for the millennials, or even for the first jobber. they can face it into 30 or even 40 years later. But it can be a goals that can support it by our financially plan from the beginning. If we can already if we can already set from the beginning and we can fulfill with the product that can fit with this profile that I previously mentioned. So if we can talk about the short one, the short goals of us right now, of course, we need to have like strong emergency fund because we are facing the pandemic that is not over yet. It makes us to have, such kind of realize to have this preparation more next year. We have to create more emergency fund to face this uncertainty even that is not over. So that kind of plan must be organized from the beginning. Because right now most of us is like confused to determine our goals. That makes us fail to have the financial plan that can be support our future needs.
Okay, so it's important to set goals, but like you said, we need emergency funds. Now, one good way to fill up those emergency funds is through investments. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. According to you, what are some of the most potential investments in 2022 and why?
Yeah, if we talk about 2022, it is based on our right now circumstances. I can say maybe from the past 2 years, many things have changed. Many many of our circumstances that can change drastically until now. Then that makes us finally change our behavior and our habits. To one of them is to invest. So if we talk about the investment instruments or we talk about the investment product that may be switched with our plan in 2022, so that must be something that changed as well. So for example, I said about right now we are facing the pandemic condition that enable us to invest in a way that is enable us for speed, make us more convenience, make us have accuracy, yeah, makes us finally find ease to invest like from our gadget. So that's what makes us finally can invest in 2022. So if we talk about the product, maybe it's almost the same. We invest in something that maybe from the conservative ones. We talk about the saving, we talk about the time deposits. But what makes change is we invest through digital ways. We can open our account through my gadget. We can open our investment product through our gadget. So it makes more different in a way to open account and the way to invest more ease. We get more ease, we get more convenience way to invest, and what makes difference. So the product is actually the same. We are talking about the conservative. There are a saving, there are time deposits, there are a gold, there are a product like maybe just for 6 or 1 year investment goals. But if you talk about the long-term one, we can say about product like more aggressive, like in the stock market, or maybe we can talk right now like a cryptocurrency. But we can all surface by the ease that create us more convenience to invest. That's the key. We have to get the product have to be adaptive with what makes us more like now. We can we can talk to each other in a virtual way. That's what makes us more convenient to know the product, even we don't meet each other directly and physically.
All right. So you're saying that it all depends on the person, it all depends on the goals. But I mean, for 2022, during this current condition, we have the Omicron variant and also some high inflation as well. So I mean, if I was a client and I was to ask you which investment should I, which investment should I invest in next year? Would you say stocks or more safe havens like gold for next year?
Yeah. I always said that we have to balance our goals, our future goals within the next year, or maybe we talk about the next 5 years. We should balance it all. So the first thing, if you have to know your short-term goals, so it's not uh, far than the products that we can use previously and regularly. Right now, we are familiar with both right now, such an example. So if you have the short-time goals, for instance, for the next 1 year or maybe until 3 years, so the goal still good for the next year.
Yeah.
Because we talk about the safe haven instruments. Then we can also talk about the long-term one because we do hope all the pandemic will be over soon. So we can talk about the more instrument that is more aggressive in within the next year or maybe in the next 2 years. So the stock market right now already bounced back. Yeah, we see right now the stock market, the composite index already reached all-time high. Not long enough previously. So it can be the potential one as well for us to invest in something that aggressive. So uh, we also can talk about something that more advanced in investment if our risk profile already suits with that kind of investment. So we should learn more about more investment product, but the potential investment that can be promising within next year, we can talk about the stocks, we can talk about the property, which is right now already dropped. But hopefully in the half two of 2022, it could be more promising. It could be time to bounce back in the terms of price, and that kind of instrument that we can use for the next year. Hopefully, if the condition get back to normal.
Okay, so stocks are rising this year, so that's a good choice for next year as well. You're saying property will also bounce back next year despite dropping this year. And you're also talking about gold. So I want to talk about something different in gold because many fintechs are offering digital gold investment. So talk to us, what is the difference between digital gold investment and buying a gold bar, and is that good in 2022, digital gold investments?
So, this kind of characteristic that created by COVID-19 pandemic. What I said previously, the ease, the convenience one, the service that don't need to enable people to meet physically. That's the things that makes us right now to realize how this technology can enable us to have an investment even with a small amount of money. If we can talk about the gold, investment in gold, in digital platform to buy a gold is actually help us to have an investment in gold even if we don't have a large amount of money. For example, I only have maybe a 500,000 rupiah, or maybe I have 30,000 rupiah. Then I want to buy a gold. Then we can buy a gold through a platform, digital platform one. Then we can have a weight depends on the gold price at the time we buy by digital platform. Then we can do it regularly. So it's like we save regularly to buy a gold. Then the weight that we can get is depends on what the price at the time we buy. Until maybe we get finally 5 grams or 10 grams, we can convert it into a gold bar. So it's actually the same. It's actually the same weight of saving the gold, but previously we have to have a large amount of money to buy a gold. But right now it is supported by some companies, even one of the biggest BUMN in Indonesia. They enable us to save for the gold with this kind of product. So it's actually just a variation It's just something that enable us to be an investor in gold that can be so easy to invest in gold.
So digital gold is good for those who don't have as much funds or don't have as much money, but they want to invest in gold. Digital gold is the way to go. Now, just one last question. Maybe we have about 1 minute left. Your advice for millennials, especially, to invest next year. What kind of investment instruments should millennials get into next year?
The biggest challenge for millennials to invest is they have the condition of FOMO, or they are fearing of missing something out. So they feel like if someone gets success with one instrument, even though they don't know it yet, or even though they don't even hear it yet, then they try to catch up with the product. They try to follow, to invest in one product. That's the mistake that is currently often happen to many millennials. So the challenge first is the FOMO things that they have. So before you start to invest, what I said previously is you have to determine first your goals. Before knowing your goals, it is impossible to have the products that can support your future because you don't know how to have a product that can suit with your risk profile. So that's the most important thing first. Secondly is what I said previously about the ease, about the convenience one, about the way of having a product with a simple way. There's the product right now, and I think almost all conservative products uh, already transformed into a digital way to serve many investors start their own investment. And it is something good for us to know further. We can look for the information in many social media, or we can get the literacy through the internet about the product before we start investing in a product that we don't know. So my suggestion for the millennials is before you start to invest, you should know your own risk profile. You should know your own goals. And I do believe all the millennials will face the long-term financial goals. So you should try to invest in something that has potential gain in aggressive way, but in a long term, because many millennials right now just want the instant way of getting rich. That's what makes them a problem. They just get the risk from investing in something that aggressive, but they cannot accept the risk that embed with the product. So the challenge, if you have analyzed previously, you have think twice or even three times before you invest, then you can start investing in many products that can right now available through the digital way, through your own gadget, through your own handphone. That's what makes you can success in investing because you know already about your objective, you know already about what you want to achieve in the next 5 years or even 10 years or even more than 10 years. Then after that, you can start to invest right now with a small amount of money with something that seems to be simple, but it can be very, very drastically increased within a long-term period.
Sure. So it's important to set your goals and set your goals for the long term for millennials, especially. Muhammad Karisma, financial planner and co-founder of Sipundi.id. Thank you so much for joining us on Jakarta Movers and Shakers. All right.